Hey, folks, it's Rick Wilson, and we are live tonight on The Breakdown. Tara is far, far away in another country right now, and so it is one of those rare nights here on LPTV's The Breakdown where I am without adult supervision. What could possibly go wrong? All right, it is January the 4th, 2024. The election year is on. It is inevitable. It is here. It is now. There's no more screwing around, no more pretending we don't get to have an election this year, because we do. We're stuck with it. So I wanted to give you guys a few moments of my take on where we're at. It's quite obvious where the Republican primary is going. It's quite obvious that Donald Trump is inevitably going to grind these idiots to dust, as has always been my contention and our contention here at Lincoln. And it's really time for our friends of the Democratic Party to saddle up, get behind Joe Biden, and take this thing seriously. We have a lot of content for you tonight. I'm joined by my friend and a friend of the show and a friend of mine, Denver Riggleman, who is a former member of Congress, a guy who was a technical advisor to the January 6th committee, who knows where all the damn bodies are buried. We're going to have some fun with that later. But first, I want to start out with what we always try to give you at the beginning of the show. Last year, this time in the Republican Party.
The members are reminded to abide by decorum of the House.
We've become a party of losers.
God bless America.
If you lose with dignity. You shake the other person's hand and you walk away. I didn't lose, so I'm not doing that.
Oh, you got a winner. It's a rigged game.
I'm a very proud election denier.
A lot of people want to create this narrative that I faked my way to Congress.
Pure democracies are not the way to run a country.
So I got indicted.
I'm being indicted. I get indicted like every 3 days.
Jesus was arrested and murdered.
Trump could run on pardoning himself.
Trump's your daddy.
The force is strong in Trump. Who else thinks President Trump is a rock star badass?
Yeah.
Again, that's freetrumpknife.com.
That's not classified material right there. It looks bad.
If you want to go out and get it, you can go out and get it.
He looks hard.
Trump's a gangster.
I want to be a dictator.
We do not deify or worship Donald Trump.
Lies!
Fox News Media and Tucker Carlson have mutually agreed to part ways.
Joe Biden should be impeached.
We didn't elect a Pilates instructor to do this with him.
He's not into golden showers.
Can I shower with you?
I want him out of here.
I'm wearing the scarlet letter.
They do want to take away the gas stove.
They plot the human feces.
Rhonda Sanctimonious or Meatball Ron?
Back to reality.
Come on, bro.
I introduced articles of impeachment.
Talk about confusing the American people.
I should have worn makeup.
The world is on fire.
We are going to win.
How dumb can we be, man?
The entire world is watching this, and they're laughing about what's going on.
The eye of Soren has turned inward.
Grab her by the pussy.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
Hey, there's Tara, joining us from abroad. How are you?
Greetings. Can you guys hear me?
We've got you loud and clear.
So I am thrilled to be here. Happy New Year. I am in the Canary Islands right now, bringing in the new year, just doing amazing things. My husband and I traversed a 12,000-foot mountain called El Teide here in Tenerife, the Canary Islands. I wanted to start the new year off with a major challenge because 2024 is going to be unbelievable for all of us. So I said, you know what? Let's do something that we would never do otherwise. And really, really, really hard to do, and we did it. So anyone who's ever hiked at 12,000 foot elevation understands how difficult that is. And I wasn't sure I was going to make it. My husband wasn't sure we were going to make it, but we did it. And I dedicated the hike to our fight for democracy. I represented Lincoln Project the whole time we were there. Anyone who wants to see it, I put it on my socials. And I could not possibly let the year start without coming in, saying hello to everyone, and joining you for a couple minutes to kick the year off, man. It's going to be a year.
We're about to have a wild ride, folks, and you know, one of the reasons that we keep going is because you guys keep going, and we keep trying to be a beacon for folks out there who feel like this is going to be too much, or too hard, or too confusing, or too mean, or too loud. We're here as the sword and shield of a lot of folks out there who have felt like this election cycle is too big to think about, but it's not. We all have to face it, and you'll have us there every step of the way. Everybody, you can count on the fact that this is what we're good at, this is what we're called to do, and this is what we care about very profoundly. And I want to just say this very quickly. You know, the best worst day of the breakdown was January 6th, 2021, when Tara and I went live for God knows how long, and about 1 million people watched it. And I mean that literally, like 1 million people were tuned in during the course of that broadcast. And that's coming up. That anniversary is coming up in just 2 days from now. Day and a half, really, when you get right down to it. And it's something I think that you know, we've kept in mind the entire time, and we've kept front and center in our view of what the world looks like if we don't keep up this fight. And folks, if you want a world where the presidency is decided by people charging the Capitol and beating on cops, that's one world. We believe in the big messy democracy that made this country truly great over the last 240 years, and we're here for that fight.
And you know what else, Rick? We're here to continue to remind people about the truth of that day. As much revisionist history is trying to go on, we're not going to allow that, because the American people, unfortunately, have short attention spans and short memories. And you have an entire party, the Republicans, plus their media ecosystem that's trying to rewrite history.
That's right.
And, you know, I heard a great expression today that the winners can't allow the losers to rewrite history. We won in 2020, right? And they don't get to rewrite what happened. We're in control of that. And we need to make sure that those people don't win in 2024. So that's why we're so motivated this year, because there's a lot going on where people are going to try to bullshit the American people into believing somehow that Trump is, you know, the most pious person running. He's going to wrap himself in democracy and the flag. All the projection of what he's actually doing, the complete opposite. They're going to try this, and we're not going to let them get away with it. It's important that people understand that, and it's important that the media reports these things accurately as well.
That's one of the things that we put out a new ad today. Specifically, there's been this amazing transformation of the Republican Party and the evangelical movement. And the evangelical movement has largely become like the militant wing of the Republican Party for Trump. So we have a new series. Well, it's actually an old series. We've done it since 2020 called MAGA Church. This one is called MAGA Church Holy War. This is a preview, folks, for the kind of thing we're going to be facing in this election cycle.
President Trump will have a miracle second term.
He is the one that God's going to put his hands on.
God says, I'm going to flip this thing, and we haven't seen anything yet, but it's coming.
We're not crazy. They're crazy.
And justice will be served, says your God.
This is far from being over.
Nothing will stop me from my plan and putting my son, Donald Trump, back in that White House.
All of this is culminating in Donald Trump getting his second term of presidency. It has to.
I hear the sound of victory. I hear the sound of victory.
Make America great again.
That's what the Bible says.
That is spiritual warfare.
We'll take it by force.
This is war.
Let me tell you something. You ain't seen an insurrection yet.
Rick, that is so chilling. And I'm so glad that LP is continuing to put that content out to remind people of what's happening. Because not only do we have the insanity of Trumpism, there's this new burgeoning Christian nationalism that is violent. It is extreme. And it's something that I don't think this country has fully embraced or understood the threat that it poses yet. And I think that's a perfect intro to bring in our good, great family friend, Denver Riggleman, to talk about this. Former Congressman Riggleman is here to join us because he has a thing or two to say about this, given his life's work in intelligence and in investigating data and what he did for the January 6th committee. And this studying of extremism, particularly Christian nationalism. So Denver, I joined the show today because there was no way I was going to let you come on without us all being together for a couple of minutes. I'm going to let you guys take over in a few, but there was no way. I had to say Happy New Year to you too, my friend.
No, Happy New Year. And climbing that mountain's amazing. What did you say, over 12,000 feet?
12,198.
It's sort of, I got to tell you, it sort of underwhelms me because I put together an IKEA desk yesterday. So I don't know. I don't know why that would be so big of a deal.
Depending on the desk, that could be equally as difficult.
Listen, at 12,000 feet in the airplane, I'm sucking on oxygen. So
yeah, I would be. I'd be sucking on something. Well, I mean oxygen. Yeah.
That's later. I don't know. That's usually Rick's department to go ahead and make fun of Trump and the rest of them.
Oh goodness! But yeah, it's good to be here. Sorry, I just wanted to. It's an amazing accomplishment in the picture.
Thank you.
And I love you guys. And, all of us have had fun over bourbon, so I think this is going to be a fun night. So.
Well, I know you guys are going to have a great show as I depart and get some rest. It's like 12:15 at night here. We have a flight to catch tomorrow because I'm coming back, everyone. Don't worry, I'm coming back. And I just wanted to make sure that you had a chance to say hello. And I know that you have a lot to say about the Christian nationalism part of this, especially as we go into January 6th. There were so many elements of that extremism that I think 3 years ago, the American people didn't really fully understand. And it's becoming more and more prominent now. I mean, we've got a freaking commander, Handmaid's Tale style commander as the Speaker of the House now. So they're going mainstream.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit frightening. And I'm so happy to talk about this with Rick because I'm sure this is going to be a very calm, very, very kind.
You know me.
I know you, Rick. And I know that I'm going to have to try to push you to say what you feel.
Well, gentlemen, have at it. Love you guys. And I will see you back in the States. Thank you. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
All right, Denver. Good to have you on, brother.
It's good to be here, man. Thank you. It's an honor. I mean, people are going to want Tara back after I'm done.
Oh, yeah, no kidding, right? They're always like, oh, yeah, we think it's a great idea to leave Rick unsupervised. Never.
Never. But, man, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
For sure. Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about January 6th off the top because it is something that we've talked about extensively. You've written Denver's book, The Breach, is one of the best accountings of how the data has been put together to examine the cohesive whole of what happened on January 6th. And it's something that, the weird thing is that on the MAGA side, they want to describe all these people that committed crimes that day as political prisoners or martyrs or whatever. But really, America is still sort of a prisoner to the fact that we had a violent attack on this, on our system of government, the seat of our government. It was planned and organized by a lot of people who have yet to have any accountability. I mean, they've arrested 1,240 people as of Friday, but they're all pretty much small fry so far. Where do you see this going now in terms of prosecuting this case, going up the chain from here?
it depends on the data they have. I know that, a lot of people want to talk about either the 1,240 charging documents that you talk about, Rick, and what they said, right? That Trump made me do it, or some of the individuals that they might have identified that pushed them into the Capitol. But really, when you look at the command and control structure, there's some things that just fell by the wayside based on incompetence, or based on the fact that we have rules when you wipe phones or you wipe data that you actually can't get to it. A lot of people, Rick, will say data is forever. It's not. It's perishable.
No.
And now that we're 3 years in, we've lost some valuable data long term. For instance, why didn't we look at the Oath Keepers texting Andrew Giuliani in November, December of 2020? I mean, why is that not a thing that's out there on the news? So I think it's going to be very difficult with some of these individuals and what they've said, what they've done, or the operational security, or using other phones, or using burner phones, or using VoIP, or using apps, using encrypted apps. It's very difficult to make that connection. And my hope is that Jack Smith and those individuals were able to get the actual detailed call records and some of the information that the committee did not have the authorities to get.
Right. So he has pursued this. He has been building the case that, the J6 committee was not empowered to build a legal case, obviously, but he's been building a case based partly on the work you guys did on the J6 committee to broaden out the management and leadership of this attempt beyond just the shock troop type people. As we call it, the Willard War Room people. Those phone records to me seem like they would be an extraordinarily valuable insight into what was happening that day.
Yeah, and Meadows and Stone fought their call records, Rick. You probably remember all this, from when we talked and things, what you read and stuff. But they fought all those phone records because we had so much already. There was only one person we could find that was directly connected through phones to all the groups. Now we don't have content. And the thing that I've been fighting with people, Rick's like, oh, what did they not we don't know that. And not only that, we don't even have the authorities to get, internals or content. And there's a lot to that. That would be another show, Rick. But, Roger Stone was connected to all the major groups. And I really thought that we should have taken a much deeper dive into Stone, Bannon, Jones, Flynn,
100%.
Byrne, right, Lindell. But there's some other, second and third tier people, even under them, all of their assistants, which we did get their phone records, and we saw how many people they were connected to. So it really does come down to that command and control infrastructure. And there's over 30 million lines of data we provided to the archives. And honestly, Rick, and I know this might scare you a little bit, I don't think they have accessed it. There's over, when you have over 4 or 5 million hard pages of call records that we processed, it is a little bit. I'm hoping that they recreated all that work because they can get a little bit more data. But our work actually blended all the call records, which is very difficult to do. It takes real expertise. So I'm hoping that, I know hope's not a viable course of action, my friend, but I am hoping that they've recreated and resubpoenaed all of those call records, or got warrants for all those call records.
Yeah, it strikes me that the seriousness of it as you move up the chain will probably justify Jack Smith and his team being able to get some of these records, because this is an enormously consequential moment for the country. I think that if we don't take this seriously, if you don't punish the people who try to do a coup, then it was just a training exercise, and they'll be back.
Yeah, man. They're practicing their TTPs, right? Their techniques, tactics, and procedures.
Yep.
That's all they did. And I guess, and that's why I'm so. I guess I'm not going to say I'm pessimistic, Rick, but I'm not optimistic. I think there's so many people that are going to skate on this based on the pure volume of data. Sure. I don't think the United States government is prepared for the amount of command and control and the amount of coordination you can do with encrypted apps and other types of comms. I think we have to have massive investment in other types of technology, not just AI, but I'm talking about the ability, graph neural networks, the ability to blend this type of data to look at who's talking to who. Now, people are going to say, Rick, like, oh, Denver, oh my God, what does he want, a deep state? No, you're talking about legal authorities to collect stuff from criminals.
With a warrant, people.
With a warrant. I mean, and again, no matter what, brother, no matter how I go, like I started a new AI company myself. I know that's going to be the thing. I want to go after bad guys. I started Riggleman Information Intelligence Group. And I started that, Adam Kinzinger's on my board, and, we're on my advisory board. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to say, how do we use technology in a way that protects people from bad actors? And how do we identify disinformation in real time? I think that's going to be very important for the United States government going forward, buddy.
I absolutely think so. And I mean, you know, and it is, we are reaching that point though, where it's harder and harder for people to know what's real. We did an ad a couple of weeks ago, just before Christmas, where Trump believed it was AI, that we had some sort of AI mojo against him, and turned out it was just a regular ad. We didn't use AI on that ad. Hint, hint. But we might be.
I got you. I'm track. I didn't know what to say there. I'm like, okay, I want to help.
But I do want to show. Speaking of January 6th, I do want to show one of my ads. One of my favorite ads after that. There are two ads actually. I'd like to show them back to back. One's called The Line, and one's called Which Side.
Okay, I'm ready.
Because that's going to be. I think these ads they're from a little while ago, but they're really relevant to like thinking about January 6th in the future.
I'm ready.
Roll those.
I want to know why what happened in Myanmar can't happen here.
No reason. I mean, it should happen here. No reason. Right? That's right.
America has crossed a line. The Republican Party believes in ending the American experiment, led by a man obsessed with power and money, who will say and do anything to seize control again.
This election was rigged.
To punish those who oppose him. His followers don't just disagree with us. They've got something worse in mind. We know what national populism and authoritarianism lead to. Every time.
That's what this is all about.
That's why we will never compromise with this evil. We will never step back from the line because we believe in America. Are you in this fight? Or have they already won? It was an attack on the American Capitol. An assault on the temple of our democracy. A plot to destroy us all. The attackers followed a sick and corrupted ideology promoted by a charismatic leader. Obsessed with grievances and wild conspiracies. Driven by fear. Willing to take innocent lives for their leader. On that day, our capital was saved from destruction only by the bravery of a handful of Americans with nothing in common but their love for this nation and their willingness to answer the call to courage. That day was the terrorist attack of September 11th, 2001. Al-Qaeda's attack on the Capitol was thwarted only by brave Americans willing to die to protect us all. There have only been 2 large-scale terrorist attacks planned against the U.S. Capitol. January 6th was ordered by an American president. Where do you stand? With the terrorists or America?
You know, I know that a lot of people, like a lot of things in this country, they want to memory hole stuff. They want to stop thinking about the hard things. We did those. The Line was produced in 2021, in the summer of 21, when it was still a lot fresher. And I do think it's important that people remember, like, democracy is a fragile thing. It takes fighting all the time to protect it. And in Denver, you saw that in the House, that people that you and I both knew before Trump, who said they were all about protecting the country, really abandoned their principles wholesale, and walked away from the ideas and ideals of what was the Republican Party, and adopted this unbelievable and reckless and dangerous posture that led us to those attacks that day.
They lost their damn minds.
Well, there's that. That's a technical term.
You know, and you know, the thing is, it's all about ambition too. And
sure.
you know, and it's about power structures, and it's about not wanting to be isolated or ostracized from your group or tribe. And it's all that stuff sort of wrapped into one. But I do want to, and I'm not trying to flatter you, buddy, but one of those commercials, was it The Line? The first one was The Line.
Yeah, The Line was first.
The Line where it showed Mike Flynn. You were just talking about Christian nationalism. That was him talking at a Reawaken a Tour event, I believe. And, you know, when you're talking about Myanmar and he's saying it's good to go, I mean, you're talking about people who really agreed with that. But there is that dovetail with Christian nationalism. And I think when you're seeing the people who've lost their damn minds, Rick, look at how they're talking. when you looked at the Meadows text messages, QAnon and this thing that God wanted Trump to win had absolutely inundated, saturated the GOP all the way up to the highest levels.
Right.
And what you're showing with the line, and the other one was which side? Is that correct?
Yes.
The line and which side? When you're looking at those two commercials, you're making a pretty stark representation of what America looks like today. And I know that people are going to say, oh, it's too much. The people who believe maybe it was just a peaceful, rally gone bad, tourists on crack, whatever it was, right? But really what it was a coordinated action to overturn the election, especially when it came to Pence and the alternate electors. But really there were multiple steps based on violence, based on being able to leverage or negotiate based on the people that he had in the Capitol, or to the point where Pence would actually throw out the electors, throw it to Congress, which they had enough votes to actually reelect Trump, or throw it back, to the electors for some other, boondoggle, right, that was going on back there. So I guess, buddy, the fact that those two commercials dovetail into the Christian nationalism question and the way people are talking today, people need to know about the NAR, the New Apostolic Reformation. They need to know about UIP, Unified in Purpose. They need to look up Ziklag. They need to look up Seven Mountains Dominionism. Right? Yeah, and they need to look up the Council for National Policy and actually what they're putting out, or Hillsdale, or all this stuff that you have going on out there. That is what people need to be looking at. And if they're not, they're probably not educated enough to know why people are coming at them the way that they are.
Yeah, it really is. It really is a much broader and much more scary movement out there than even the people that are sort of anti-Trump understand. So, speaking of which, about courage, we're all watching the Republican primary, not because it's going to change anything, but because it's kind of like become sick amusement at this point. What do you think of like the whole Nikki Haley collapse? I mean, she couldn't answer a question about what caused the Civil War the other day.
But you just said it. She couldn't answer it. Like, she literally at that point, she could not say on that forum that slavery was a reason for Civil War because of the base. And I don't know what else to say about it, Rick, because it was such a coward move. And then she goes, well, of course it's about slavery. I thought it was the other stuff. Everybody assumes it's about slavery. Oh, shut up. That's just, it's so politically just freaking, it's just transparent pandering to that specific group. And she did not want it out there that slavery caused it, because the lost cause people who probably make up 20 to 25% of the base, right, are going to say, oh, we're not voting for her. Slavery was states' rights or some other bullshit. And so that's buddy, I went to Stonewall Jackson High School. I was born in Manassas, Virginia.
I get it.
I'm a Virginia boy, right? But I pretty much know that slavery started the Civil War, Rick. That slavery was a pretty
clearly historically established issue. And
I think so. It's just crazy.
It's a crazy that let's roll the clip and just watch how she just completely fumbles the ball here.
Unbelievable.
What was the cause of the United States Civil War?
Well, don't come with an easy question or anything. I mean, I think the cause of the Civil War was basically how government was going to run, the freedoms and what people could and couldn't do. What do you think the cause of the Civil War was? I'm sorry?
I'm not running for president. I want to see your view on the cause of the Civil War.
I mean, I think it always comes down to the role of government. We need to have capitalism. We need to have economic freedom. We need to make sure that we do all things so that individuals have the liberties so that they can have freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom to do or be anything they want to be without government getting in the way.
Thank you. And then in the year 2023, it's astonishing to me that you answer that question without mentioning the word slavery.
What do you want me to say about slavery? Next question.
That's just agonizing.
It's
agonizing. I mean, how is it? Is that silverback bourbon you're drinking right now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I needed a drink after that, man. Here's the thing. You know that long pause at the beginning? Rick, and I know you know what I'm going to say already because you're very good at this. You know what she was thinking when she turned around with the mic and that little look on her face? You know what she was thinking, buddy? She was like, don't say slavery. That's all she was thinking. She was going, how do I answer? Don't say slavery. My consultants told me Not down here. Can't be slavery. Now I got to make up some gobbledygook. Freedom for who? What?
Yeah. But between Nikki Haley and that answer and Ron DeSantis this year putting out an academic curriculum in Florida that said slavery had some good sides. It's just come on, people.
I tried to, I was talking to a good friend of mine, and I happens to be African-American, and we're drinking. I mean, that's where you have your best conversations. And I said, what if people actually could go back to say 47, right? And actually look at how slaves were treated, actually look at the barbaric activity, we owned people. The Americans owned people, owned them, separated them from their families, killed them, starved them, beat them. And we have Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis and these other sort of Confederate underwear wearing mouth breathers, right, running around saying, that it's something else, it's states' rights or whatever. Right. And I'm like, get the hell out of here. Even real Southerners, they know it was slavery.
Listen, and you and I count as real Southerners.
Yeah,
and I'm sorry, these people. Again, it's part of that philosophy that Steve Bannon imposed on the party of I have no enemies to my right, which is what led to Trump doing the both sides on Charlottesville and everything else. The idea of no enemies to the right is what drives this for them, because they're like, okay, well, I can't piss off those guys, even though I don't want to invite them to dinner. I don't want to have them around the decent company, but I also don't want to piss off the Klan and the racists and the weirdos. And then if you're not willing to do that, you're going to end up getting dragged into a mess like Nikki got. And it just strikes me. It's like, again, it goes back to like how far away they are from the reality of what the country was founded on and what it's worked so hard to get to. And it's like the reliance on fake history, the reliance on propaganda, and the reliance on violence from January 6th to even this, like, we had 8 state capitals shut down yesterday for bomb threats. That's not a country that's got a functioning or a high functioning democracy or high functioning republic. That's a country where a big part of the population has decided whatever they want to do is allowed as long as it gets them to get or hold power.
Listen, state capitals, not as well protected.
No.
And that's the thing too, is that as we go into 2024, again, I know you sort of hit the nail on the head there. As you go into 2024, where's that violence going to happen? Is it going to be isolated? Is it going to be state capitals? Is it going to be politician homes, which I think is going to be a real issue, Rick? I'm not going to lie. I think we already looked at Paul Pelosi and we've already looked at some things like that. But I think there's going to be an issue with violence there. But when you talk about the 8 state capitals, much more vulnerable. And, I've talked to people about state capitals. There's a vulnerability there that I hope that each state is looking at as we go into the 2024 election cycle, that they do have, good state authorities. They do have people that are in the capital areas that are willing to look at the data and willing to make decisions they need to protect those state capitals as we come into election year. So, and I just don't know what else to tell you, man, on that. I just got a feeling that you did make me laugh about not wanting to invite people, right? They don't want to have dinner with them. Of course, Trump did have dinner with Nick Fuentes or lunch.
Of course,
But you don't want to have, cousin Pop-Tart with the bib overalls. It smells really bad. You want to invite him after dinner. And I think the cousin Pop-Tart phenomenon is happening right now with the far right.
Oh, for sure. But, look, it is, like I said, that the violence that they've wired into their system now, I think, is a really sort of a scary element that is not going to go away in any particular, without a big defeat of Trump. You mentioned your buddy, our mutual friend Adam Kinzinger earlier. I just had him on the podcast. He really set off a chain on social media by talking about Trump's odor, about how Trump smelled. I mean, it's, you and I both captured the occasional moment of like social media lightning in a bottle, but that absolutely sent Trump out of his damn mind the other day.
Yeah, that's what happens when a thin-skinned bully gets their milk money pulled from him. That's And listen, the great thing about Adam, right? Military, great guy, Air Force, I'm Air Force, military guys don't care if you fart anyway. Like, we don't give a shit. We just don't care, right? So the fact that you had somebody react like this, Trump could have laughed it off. The reason he can't laugh it off is because he's a narcissist. And the other thing too is, and the reason he got really mad is maybe somebody has told him in the past that he stinks, and when Adam did that, I said, maybe his tweets are going to be scratch and sniff from now on, and so I think he's so thin-skinned and so narcissistic that he couldn't take Adam what he did, and plus it's funny. And the other thing is that Trump likes to dish it out, but this guy isn't going to last.
And that's where I come in, because at Lincoln we have a always fight Trump attitude every day, and the idea of fighting with the audience of one on something like that, it's exactly right. He's a bully who can dish it out to anybody, cannot take it at all. Let's roll the ad Limburger, which got like 2 million views. It was done in like 3 hours on
I saw it. It was great.
2 days before Christmas.
Yep.
Claiming the former president smells bad.
It has a distinct smell. It's like body odor with kind of like a scented makeup product.
Donald, is that you?
It's going to kill him. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. The new Trump cologne's rolling out here soon.
He is. This one's going to ride on him, and we'll be back to visit with that one. We've hammered him a lot on the things that we know hammer him hardest. His vanity. It's just like every autocratic leader in the world is vain and petty. So, hitting him on things like that just makes perfect sense. But it's going to be a long road ahead this year, and we're going to have a lot of ups and downs, I suspect. But brother, I can't wait to sit down in person and have a cocktail or three. And thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. They're pulling the curtain out from me here as we reached our 40-minute mark. But we appreciate you as always, and keep us informed of what you're up to, and we'll keep up the fight together.
Rick, hey, you're doing great work, and I just hope that I've earned a revisit. Just with the fact that I said that building an IKEA desk was harder than climbing a 12,000-foot mountain.
That was pretty solid work, I must say.
I hope just that gets me a revisit on this esteemed podcast.
All right, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We will see you all again next time on The Breakdown. We're back to our weekly schedule, I believe, now. So you'll see us again next Thursday.